Today we're talking about pre-fader versus post-fader sends. So the question is, do you guys actually know the difference between them and what their use cases are? If you don't, that's completely fine. I'm going to go over that within this video. And if you want to know their use cases, stick around after this introduction. Welcome everybody, I'm Dan Spencer and I am the Audio Sorcerer. So this is the channel where I teach you how to perfect your audio recording, mixing, and mastering skills. So before we get to the video, make sure you guys smash that like button, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. So without further ado, today we are talking about pre-fader versus post-fader when it comes to aux sends. So what I actually realized is a lot of people don't really know the use cases for these two different scenarios. And truthfully, there's only really two for pre-fader and only one for post-fader. Now, I'm sure you can come up with some different scenarios beyond what I'm going to show you in this video, but honestly, these are really the only ones you would use on a consistent basis, all right? So, let's get into this video and let's talk about using it in a scenario where we want to create parallel compression, all right? So let's get to that now. Alright, so I got a mix of a live drum kit here that I did for a song. I can't play the full song because it's copywritten. However, I can play the drum mix, so that is a good thing. Now, the purpose of this here is to show you how we can use parallel compression on a whole entire drum mix, and that's what I did. So, all of these tracks that are yellow, including the green tracks here that are within here, these are all drum tracks. And they all get sent over to a folder track, which is acting as a bus, which is the drum bus right here. So what we're going to do, or what has already been done, is we are sending a copy of the drum bus to this Paradrums aux track I created here. Now, this video is not to teach you how to make aux tracks. This video assumes you already know how to do that. Now, if you don't know how to do that, I have a link popping up in the top right corner now to a video all about aux tracks. So if you need to know how to make them, check out that video. So moving forward, to send a copy of the drum bus, we're going to use a send. And it's going to be a pre-fader send, and I already have it created here. So let me open it up, and you'll see that I have pre lit up in blue, and it also shows it in blue right here. And that's all you have to do to enable pre on an aux send. Now, what I recommend doing if you're going to use pre-fader sends is send it at unity, because essentially you're going to probably want to send a exact copy in pretty much every scenario I can think of. So what I mean by unity is send this at 0 dBs right here, okay? So it's going to send an exact copy over to wherever you're sending it. So in our case, we are sending it again to the Paradrums track here. And again, this is the routing I've set in place. So that's Paradrums here. And this is Paradrums here. If you clicked on it here, can't really show the routing, but you would see it here. Paradrums, again, that's what I have here. So we're sending it over to here. It's hitting my plugin chain. And by the way, a little secret here. If you guys want to create some awesome parallel compression for a whole drum mix, use this Drum Crusher 1 preset in the Slate VMR. It's absolutely amazing. And it really smashes them like unbelievably amazingly. So you don't have to be subtle with it either, because the idea is that you're trying to destroy the drums with this. And again, you're just going to kind of mix it in a little bit here. So this is my level for the drum bus here, and this is my mix in of it here. And I actually end up mixing these in probably a lot louder than most engineers, but you do it to taste. That's how you want to work with this. So why don't I play these drums for you, and we will listen with the parallel compression bypass first, and then I will bring it in, and then you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, so let's give it a listen. All right, cool. So there was definitely a huge difference when we brought in the parallel compression. The drums sounded much fuller, they sounded bigger, and you could definitely hear it on the snare drum probably more than any other drum. So that is our first use case for pre-fader sends. So let's move on to the next one, and that is for using them as a trigger. All right, so the second use case for pre-fader sends is using them as triggers. Well, what does that mean? So the most famous scenario would be creating a 808 kick drum, which I did for this video. Now, I'm not going to go over in huge detail on how to do that, but I do have a video I made popping up in the top right corner now, which teaches you how to create a 808 kick drum from scratch. So if you're interested in learning about that, check it out after this video. So anyways, as you can see down here, we have kick 1, kick 2, and then I created an 808 aux track, and then we have the kick bus. So I'm using kick 1 here as my trigger track, and as you can see, I have a send, and I called it 808. Again, it is pre-fader, and it's being sent in Unity. Now, where does it go? I'm not sending it to the aux track here on the input like we did in the last video. I actually need to send it to a sidechain, okay? So you're like, well, what's sidechain? Let me actually open up this plugin here. This is a gate, and this is the gate that comes with Pro Tools. And if you can see this little key right here, this is a sidechain input. So if I click this here, you have all the different inputs available, like your buses and interface, that you would normally have if you were doing routing on an in and out on a track. So in my scenario here, I am selecting the 808 that I created here for my sidechain input. And then I have to go over to sidechain here and actually press the key button, okay? And that enables it. So what's going to happen now is that every time this kick drum hits, it's going to trigger this gate to open. Now I had to go in here and set settings properly to make it work the way I needed it to, but in a gist, that's how it works. So before this in the chain, I have a signal generator, and this is it here. And all it does is it plays a sine tone at 82 Hertz, and this song is in the key of E minor, and that happens to be a E. So that will play that particular sine tone every time the kick drum hits. And I have it, cut off pretty much by the time the kick's done. So it kind of feels like it's part of the kick drum, but it just makes that a little bit thicker. All right. So that is the scenario that I'm using it in here as a trigger. So why don't we give this a listen, and I will start with the 808 bypassed, and then I will bring it in. All right, cool. So that is how you use pre-fader sends as triggers. And if you guys were watching the screen, you probably saw this little orange meter here going up and down. That was essentially the gate opening and closing. So let's now move on to the one use case scenario for post-fader sends, and that is using them as effect sends. Alright, so our use case for post-fader sends is to use them as effect sends. And this is the most popular way to use sends in general regarding pre or post. And what I did was I brought up the initial drum session that we had earlier in this video. And if we look at the snare bus right here where my mouse is at, you'll see that I have a snare verb send here. Let me open this up. and you'll see that it is post send. So in this scenario, we are not turning the fader all the way up. We're using this fader to make a blend between the dry and wet signal. Now, the audio on the actual track is considered the dry signal, and then the amount we send to the aux that we created over here, this would be our snare verb here, that is our wet signal. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this drum track again, and I will just move this fader up and down so you can see how our reverb increases and decreases by using this fader. All right, so let's give it a listen. All right, cool. So as you could hear, as I brought up the fader, our reverb got much louder, and as I brought it down, it decreased. Now, I am doing some heavy parallel compression, as you guys heard earlier in the video, so we do get some nice sustain from it, even with the reverb dissipating. So those are your use cases for how to use sends in pre-fader or post-fader. So I hope this helped you guys understand them. There are probably a couple other use cases you can use them in, but these are the ones that you're going to be using them in pretty much 99.9% of the time. All right. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe because I love making this content for you, and hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. So with that being said, until the next video, I will see you guys later, and peace out.